What if I told you 3 teenage boys made a pact to ruin the life of a blind girl just to get rich overnight? Not by working hard. Not by robbing a bank. But by targeting the one girl in their town who couldn't see their faces, couldn't cry for help, and couldn't defend herself. Her name was Eva, innocent, soft-spoken, and blind since birth. She lived alone in an abandoned church, surviving on the kindness of strangers and prayers she whispered to a God she hoped still listened. But the boys, Jesse, Collins, and Jason, believed the local rumor whispered in shadows, sleep with the blind girl under the blood moon, and fortune will follow. What began as a sick, turned into a dark ritual. And by the time they realized the truth behind the legend, it was already too late. Their riches had come, but so had something else, something they could never escape. In one of the forgotten corners of this town, 3 teenage boys, Jesse, Collins, and Jason, sat in the back of an old mechanic shop, their eyes glued to a cracked phone screen showing another influencer flaunting stacks of money beside a Lamborghini. They were tired of hunger, tired of walking barefoot to school, tired of hearing their mothers cry in the night because there was no food in the house. Jesse, the sharp-tongued leader, slammed his fist on the workbench. People are making millions doing nonsense. And we are still here, broke and invisible. Collins, always laughing even when it wasn't funny, mumbled, you know there's a way. But you won't want to hear it. Jesse turned to him. Try me. Collins leaned forward, voice low. You know Eva? That blind girl who lives in the abandoned church down the hill. They all knew her. The girl who walked barefoot, carried a rusted radio, and prayed under the mango tree every night. People called her cursed. Some said she was blessed. But nobody knew her. There's this legend, Collins continued. My grandma said years ago, some men touched her mother under the blood moon. Days later, they were all rich. One owned half the land in this village. Another vanished into Europe. Grandma said they got their wealth through a deal with something not of this world, and the blind girl's family is the key. Jason looked uneasy. That's disgusting. She's just a girl. Jesse laughed cruelly. A blind girl who won't see it coming. Think about it, she lives alone, no one visits her, and we need money. Then Jesse spoke the words that sealed their fate, we each take one night. Under the blood moon. One night each. No love. No guilt. Just do it, and walk away rich. The pact was made. That night, they pricked their fingers and marked an old Bible with blood. Jesse, as the leader, would go first. Then Collins. Then Jason. They swore on their own lives, no backing out. No turning around. No telling anyone. As they left the garage, Amoka was singing a hymn to herself, unaware of the storm about to fall upon her. Little did they know, they hadn't just made a pact for riches. They had opened the door to something that feeds on innocence and punishes greed with unrelenting wrath. The blood moon rose exactly 3 days later. Inside that broken church, where the cross had long since fallen and rats made nest under the pulpit, Amoka lit a single candle beside her straw mat. She hummed softly, brushing her hand over a torn Bible, her head tilted toward the sky, and she couldn't see. Outside, Jesse approached, wearing black, heart pounding, hands sweating. But his mind was made up. Do it and get rich. Just one night, he reminded himself. He crept in through the broken window. Eva turned her head. Who's there? Her voice was soft. Not afraid. Hopeful. He didn't speak. He only knelt beside her and touched her arm. She flinched but smiled. I prayed someone would come tonight, she whispered. God must have sent you. Jesse didn't reply. He didn't need to speak. His mission wasn't to comfort, it was to conquer. As she lay there, trusting, unaware, he did the unthinkable. Silent. Cold. When it was over, he stood up quickly, guilt like bile rising in his throat. But then, as he stepped out into the night, something strange happened. The wind whooshed past him violently, as if something unseen had brushed his skin. He ran home. The next morning, Jesse found a brown leather pouch on his bed. Inside, $10,000 in crisp US bills. He gasped. He laughed. It worked. But when he looked in the mirror, his eyes were bloodshot. Completely red. He told himself it was nothing. Just a lack of sleep. Just nerves. But something in his reflection looked older. Meaner. And it wouldn't blink when he did. Collins arrived the next night wearing fake cologne and a guilty smile. Unlike Jesse, he planned to sweeten the act. He brought food. Spoke gently. Told Eva lies that melted her soul. "You're beautiful," he whispered. "You deserve to be seen." She cried. "You came back?" she asked. "Yes," he lied. They sat. He fed her jollof rice. Then sang an old song their mothers used to sing as kids. And when she laughed, it broke something in him. He kissed her softly. She didn't resist. That night, he didn't just take her body. He took her heart. And yet, he left without a word. The next morning, gold coins rained from his ceiling. Literal gold. He screamed with joy. He rolled on his bed. Called Jesse. It worked again. But then his hands began to tremble. Just slightly. A small twitch. Barely noticeable. By noon, he couldn't hold a spoon. By nightfall, he couldn't stop shaking. Like a leaf in a storm. No doctor could explain it. And worst of all, when he tried to sleep, he kept hearing Eva's voice, whispering, "You lied to me, why?" Jason hesitated. Unlike the others, he had always felt pity for Eva. But peer pressure, poverty, and fear of being left out clouded his judgment. He entered on the third night, trembling. She smiled when she heard him. "You feel different," she said. He nodded. Then realized she couldn't see. "Yes," he whispered, "I came back." She took his hand. "Thank you for not hurting me." That broke him. Jason sat beside her for hours. They talked. She told him about dreams she'd had of light, of freedom, of walking in a city where no one hurt her again. She leaned on his shoulder. She trusted him. And when the moment came, he didn't force it, he cried. Still, he crossed the line. He left the church as dawn approached, tears running down his face. He didn't feel victorious. He felt like a thief. At home, he found a black envelope on his pillow. Inside, a check. $100,000. But beside it, a note in red ink you saw. "Now you won't again." He turned to look in the mirror, and everything went black. Jason screamed. His eyes were wide open. But he couldn't see, he was blind. Just like her. 3 boys, 3 nights, 3 rewards, but the price. Their sanity, their sight, their souls. And Eva. She was gone. Vanished. No trace, no scent, no shadow. But her voice would return, in the most terrifying ways. They should have felt triumphant, richer than their wildest dreams, but the silence in their souls grew louder each passing day. Eve had vanished. No one saw her leave. No one in town had answers. The old pastor who used to bring her food found the church empty, her Bible torn, the candle melted into nothing but wax tears, and in the corner, a shadowy handprint on the wall, burned into stone. Jesse now lived like a king. Fast cars. Loud music. Designer clothes. But his reflection wouldn't smile back. Every time he looked in the mirror, he saw someone standing behind him. Just out of focus. And always staring. He thought he was imagining things until he started hearing screams. Loud, echoing, blood-curdling screams in his ears at random times. In the bathroom. In his sleep. In the middle of parties. He'd turn up the music, scream back, punch walls, nothing silenced them. He couldn't sleep, he couldn't eat, his riches now looked like chains. Then one night, he woke up in a cold sweat and Eve's voice whispered right into his ear, "You broke me. Now I break you." His ears started bleeding. He laughed like a madman, and never stopped. Collins spent most of his money trying to buy peace. Doctors. Priests. Witch doctors. Therapists. His hands never stopped trembling. It got worse violent. He couldn't hold a phone. Couldn't eat. Couldn't even button his shirt. One day, in a fit of rage, he destroyed his room, smashed all the mirrors, broke furniture, cut his hands on broken glass. But then, as he stared at his shaking, bloody palms, he noticed something. They were writing. On their own. Letters formed from his blood. Liar. Thief. She believed you. Every morning, new words would appear carved on his arms. He begged Jesse and Jason to help him. But Jesse had lost his mind. And Jason could no longer see. Jason, now blind, walked slowly through his house, afraid of his own footsteps. At first, he thought he could adapt. Use his money to get help. Maybe travel abroad. But the darkness wasn't just in his eyes. It was in the air around him. Cold. Heavy. Whispering. At night, he heard her voice. Not angry. Worse. Disappointed. You could have saved me, but you chose greed. He tried to explain. He cried out. I didn't want to. I tried. I loved you. The voice responded. Then why did you leave me broken? He stopped eating. He stopped speaking. Until one night, he walked out into the road barefoot, smiling, and whispered. Maybe if I become like her, she'll forgive me. A car hit him at full speed. He survived, but with every bone shattered. Now paralyzed, blind, and rich a trophy in a hospital bed, crying every time he hears a hymn. The town never knew what truly happened. Rumors flew. Some said the boys touched a sacred girl. Others whispered they had made a pact with the devil. The old pastor just shook his head and said, no one gets rich off a broken soul without paying interest. As for Eva, some say she was never human. Some say she was an angel sent to test the hearts of men. Some say she still sings at midnight in the wind that moves through the mango trees. But one thing is certain. No one ever entered that church again. And the shadowed handprint on the wall still glows red under the full moon. The price of what you take. In the end, they got what they wanted, riches beyond their dreams. But they lost what mattered most, their peace, their sanity, and their humanity. They touched a life they didn't understand. They turned innocence into currency. And the curse didn't come from Eva. It came from their own hearts. Moral of the story, when you chase wealth by breaking others, you may gain the world, but lose your soul. Some doors, once opened, never close. And some wounds, especially those unseen, bleed forever.